Hey everybody, welcome back to another video with Gem Mint Masters. This is a video I've been wanting to do for a while, so it's going to be a short one, but I'm going to try to be as in-depth as I can. If you're passionate about raw to grade like I am, I love to buy cards raw, grade them myself, and go out and chase those PSA 10s. The main reason I do it, well, I guess it's kind of two reasons. You're going to get your biggest return. That's pretty obvious. But I love the chase, to be honest. I love to be able to say, I found this card for super cheap and I got it graded myself and I turned this, few dollar card into a multi-$100 card or whatever it may be. Am I going to be perfect all the time? No, I'm not. But, if I'm diligent enough and, I use strategies that I feel like are thorough and work, then I feel like I'm gonna, have overall success. So I'm gonna share some of that with you guys today. So I've got some cards down here. I've been on a bit of a kick of grading 90s cards lately. You go to shows or you go on eBay, there's a ton of stuff out there. And it's really easy to look at, especially online, like on eBay, it's really easy to look at a card in a picture and be like, wow, that looks great. Because what are you looking for? You're looking for corners, you're looking for centering, you're looking for things like that. But what you're not seeing, and what in my mind is kind of most important, is the surface. I think I always like to use a Beckett slab as a good example. If I had one here, I'd show you, but look at a Beckett slab with subgrades. There's 4 categories. Most grading companies use those. So if you're out there evaluating cards, use those as well. I'll throw them up on the screen here as well. You've got centering, you've got edges, you've got corners, and you've got surface. Centering is a pretty easy one to understand. And front centering and back centering are a little bit different though. PSA, for example, they just changed their standards for grading. As far as centering goes, on the front, it's 55-45, used to be 60-40. So you definitely need to be a little bit more diligent today. I'll show you really quick what I use here, if I feel like I need to. But in all honesty, I really don't use it that much. I have this centering tool. So it's just a cheap little plastic device you can put over your card. You get them on Amazon, line it up with the edges, and then you'll see there's kind of numerical values this way and this way. And then once you determine what those are, it'll come with this handy card here. It'll tell you what the percentages are. So again, like I said, I'm looking for 55-45. So you can see like some of the numbers here, like a 4-3 is probably the closest that you're going to get to 55-45, or actually I guess a 5-4 would be, but you're rarely ever going to see that because when you have kind of thinner edges, it's going to be toward the top of this, like a 2-1 or something like that. It's rare that you're ever going to see anything in these 2 rows here. So it's a little difficult to use those as examples, but they do kind of have similar math, but you're going to be in this kind of range here with most of your stuff that has thinner edges. If you've got super thick edges, then you'll have some 6s, 7s, 8s, stuff like that. But that's a great handy tool. I would definitely use it. But like I said, I don't use it for the most part because I feel like I've got a good understanding of something is almost perfectly centered. And that's what I usually look for. So I'll talk a little bit about my approach today, and then I've got some examples. So I'll just kind of go with my overall approach, and this would apply to, it does apply online, but I think in person, it's a bit better of an example. So I'll use the example if I'm going through a box at like either a show, or let's say I've bought a collection and I'm going through just a ton of cards. I'll kind of start going through them, and the first thing I'm going to look for is centering. Because again, if all 4 of these don't meet the criteria that you want, then it really doesn't make sense to, let's say, keep a card that's got super clean edges and corners, but it's like horrifically off center. Centering is the first thing I'm going to look at. So I'll make my first pass. I'll go through my cards. I'll go through, look at them, look at the ones that have the good centering, you know, set them off to the side, kind of make myself a stack. So I'll go through that. Let's say I'm going through 100 cards and I pull out 10 that I think are perfectly centered. I'll then go back through those 10 again, and I will look at the corners. You know, I'll get close and, you know, kind of shine and just see if I can see if I'm at a show, if the dealer lets me take it out, I'm literally taking every single card out and looking at it. Corners, sometimes you can't see. And then, you know, after corners or at the same time, I guess I would say, I'm looking at surface and edges as well. So, you know, if you kind of look at a card and you go, you know, top to bottom, you're tackling corners and edges, and then do it here again. And then if you want to look at surface, just kind of go back and forth like this. Again, it's probably better if the card is out of here, but I'll take some of these out and show you here in a minute, but I'm just kind of showing the technique that I use. So that would be the way to do it. And then if it meets all those four criteria, then go ahead and pick it up. If you're just a collector and you want just a decent looking card for your personal collection, then maybe some of those aren't as important. But again, if your sole purpose is raw to grade, then if you're like me, I mean, I'm trying to be as thorough as I possibly can. So, all right, let's go ahead and get through some of these examples, and we'll kind of go through one at a time and get a good sense of maybe how to do this. So, all right. So I'm going to start with a modern card just so you guys can get a comparison to some of this older stuff. So I'm going to pull the light in here. I hope this light isn't too distracting or bright, but I use a super bright light so that I can see everything on my card. And if you see, you know, you can scan the surface very easily. I've got this nice overhead light. It's a nice modern card. I looked at it, looks nicely centered to me. And then I'm going to scan the entire surface. I'm not seeing anything there. Looks good. And then I'm going to go to the back and I'm going to look. Do I see anything of note? I don't. So this would be, you know, if this was a card I was going to grade, it would probably check all those boxes for me. Some of you watching this probably noticed something. If you did, then that's great. That means you're being thorough, but I'm just kind of using that as an example. I don't know anybody grading Jamari Thrash, but that was, I will say the modern cards, for the most part, are pretty clean. Nicely centered. But you look at some of the older stuff, and that is not the case at all. All right, so the first example here, I'm going to focus just on centering. So I've got two of the same card, and you can see I've got one that's pretty horrifically off center, so I made a note there for myself, bad centering. And then we've got one here that is good centering. So if we look at these two cards, the other way you can kind of see that is you line them up here. This one has the hoop all the way to the edge, but a typical card, like this is a good example too, because this isn't a card with like a real border all the way around. But, you know, use things like the top between the text and the top of the card there, and the same down here below the text. And then you're going to go side to side. This does give you somewhat of a frame to use here. But again, if you see something like this, you're going through, this one has okay corners. It's not terrible, but like if I was going through a box and I saw this card, I would just put that to the side immediately. I would not even bother with that one. But again, this one here is, I will say right now, I'm not grading this one. But if I were to make my first pass through here, this would be the centering standard. And then when I came back through, I would look at surface, corners, edges, and then I would determine if I feel like it's good enough to move forward with. So the reason this one's not is because there's another issue, either with the corners, edges, or surface. I did not make a note, and I believe it was a corner issue on this one. But again, you know, use that phased approach, and you'll be good to go. All right, these next four here, I've put these kind of together, and I lumped them together, and I put scratches on there. So if you look at these cards at first glance, they look really nicely centered. This one right here is like perfectly centered. The corners look great. Same here. The centering couldn't be better on pretty much all of these. And the edges, and I'll go more in depth on this gold one here because I think that's the best one of the bunch to use as an example. But let's go ahead and take it out. These are a little difficult to get out sometimes. This is a card I would love to have in a PSA 10. But this is something I've talked about on my channel before. Like, when grading 90s cards like this, you see people get a lot of 8s, and they're not sure why. And I will just tell you from experience, 9 times out of 10 or 99 times out of 100, it's the surface. So I'm going to go ahead and shine the light. I'm hoping I can pick this stuff up. I might need to zoom. Let me zoom a little bit. And you can already see it. Look at all these scratches here. I mean, you couldn't have more scratches on a card. But then let's go ahead and zoom back out. I'm going to just show you kind of like, from here. Do you see any? Because I really don't. And again, I'm looking at these gold edges. This card looks clean from an edge perspective. And kind of same back here. So again, this is the importance of really getting in, zooming in close, and just seeing how crazy that can be. Now that right there, these edges are perfect. Centering is perfect. This is at most, in my opinion, an 8 from PSA. So, again, check all 4 boxes. If everything looks good, then you can go that route. I'll do one more quick example of a nicely centered, clean looking card. This is the McDonald's Michael Jordan, super centered, nice and sharp corners. I'm kind of shining through to look. Corner issue down here, so I take that back a little bit, but let's zoom in again. Having a little bit of trouble zooming, I'll get there. And let's take a closer look here. And you can see, here's a couple. There are a lot of scratches on this. I'm going to try my best to capture them as good as I can. You can see a whole bunch down here. I mean, look at that right there. This thing is littered with scratches all over here, here. So again, you don't usually have this issue with newer stuff because it's fresh out of the pack. It has not been in and out of a top loader like this 100 times or more over a 30-year period. So you're usually in pretty good shape with something like that. So all right, so I think on the next example I'm going to show, I'm going to actually take these 2 cards and show you. I'm actually grading this one, so that's in the card saver, and this one is the exact same card, but I'm not grading it. And this one was a really simple. It came down to really just one thing, was the centering. And I was tempted to send this one because I'll show you the surface. You can see what a nice clean surface looks like. I'm gonna bring the light back here. On an older card like this, and let's get in there really close. Nice and clean. Now these glossier ones seem to do better with less scratching. You can see there, nothing. Corners look great, everything. I was tempted, like I said, to send this one. I'll go on the back. I'm gonna try to even get in closer here. Looks good. Look at that corner, sharp corner. Let's go back to the front again. I'll get a little closer just so we can see no scratches. Now that is what a clean card should look like. So if you want to know what a 10 surface looks like, you shouldn't really see anything on there. Maybe something minimal, but other than that, you should not see anything. I'm not going to go too zoomed in on this one because this is a super clean surface. I already examined this one, but you can see the centering definitely much better. This one's not terrible, but the top to bottom was just a little too out of range for me. So I would prefer to go with this centered copy and see how I do. If anything, I would rather this gets a 9 before I send this than this than this, you know, getting a 9, this getting an 8. But I'm hoping for a 10 on that, so that's my goal. All right, so let's see. I think we can do a couple more quick examples, and then we'll kind of call this one a day. I think we've so far kind of learned the lesson, but here's an example of a really nice card. I actually just kind of eyeballed this one on eBay. Took a chance on it. It was cheap. That's the nice thing, is you're going to get some cheap stuff on eBay because people aren't necessarily willing to spend a lot of money on something that might have some surface issues. But here's a good example of a nice clean surface card. You know, I was pretty happy about this. This actually, and there's a small issue here, but for the most part, this was really nice. And if anything, I was hoping to keep this in my collection. But then I get to the back and look up there. Massive, massive surface scratch of some sort. I bought this online, so I think you can see where I'm going with this. I definitely filed a claim on this one. And luckily they just went ahead and refunded me, so I'll keep this. It's a cool card just to have for the personal collection and the, you know, my Jordan stash, but I don't know. I hate to sell cards like that too, because I don't want to sell that to somebody and have them get that ginormous scratch and, you know, get a card they really don't like. So I would prefer not to do that. So, all right. So we got 2 more examples. We'll get through these kind of quick. So we've got the same card again. Pretty nice looking, clean, fairly clean corners for the most part, but we've got a nice, good, clean copy, and then we've got a good corners copy and with bad scratches on it. So I'm going to go ahead and just pull out the bad one first and show you kind of how you can get that misconception of a nice looking card until you really start examining it closely. All right, so let's just look, you know, for a card this old, corners look really nice. And then even on the back, if we go to the back, you've got brown corners on all, and they all look really sharp. So let's go ahead and get in close on this. And we'll see if we're kind of seeing the same effect that we had on some of these other ones. Oop, don't want to get blurry on you here. Let's get that light in here. All right, so I'm gonna find these scratches. I can already see they're kind of in the middle. You can see right here, there's a whole bunch. You can see, yep, right there. It's unfortunate because, you know, a card looks so good, you think, oh wow, man, I'm gonna get this graded, but look at that. And then again, pull it back, even to like right here. Can't see it. You can't even see it when you go like that. So it's tough. It's, but again, be diligent. I've learned my lesson quite a few times in doing this, knowing the things to look for. And I would say it's definitely paying off. Do I miss some again? Like I said, yeah, but my goal is to not do that. All right. So, you know what? I think it made the point. This is a nice one. Let's just take it out. Let's show a nice clean copy. This is the one I'm keeping in my personal Michael Jordan kind of collection. Let's go ahead and zoom, and let's get a better look at this one here. I think I gotta go a little closer. Yep, there we go. So we're kind of zooming in the same area. Not seeing any scratching. Corners even look a lot better. I don't remember exactly what the thing was that was preventing me from sending this one. It might have been a slight corner, but you can see no scratches. Nice clean surface on that one. So there we go. And then we'll look at the back. Nice edges. Perfect. So there we go. Yeah, I'm gonna have to see what's up with that. Maybe I will send that one. It's a nice looking copy. I gotta kind of, you know, pace myself and not send them all at once, because what I don't want to do is, if I overlook something, I don't want to screw myself over. All right, last example. We're gonna zoom back out here. We're gonna go with the last example here. So I've got, again, 2 of the same card. We've got a nice centered copy with scratches, and then we've got a nice clean one with a really small top middle issue. So let's again look quickly at these scratches. This could potentially be a card, not this one, but the other one. Could be one that I end up sending. But now that I'm looking at it, I don't know if I see anything wrong. Oh, you know what? Okay. I know what the issue was on this one. All right, let's get in nice and zoomed. All right, so this one actually isn't too bad. But if you get into this area right here, you can see a little cluster of kind of like surface dings and such. And again, it's really hard to see this stuff until you zoom in close. Let me go over here. We've got some more there. You can see there's kind of a left to right scratch, fairly sizable. And then right there if you go to the left of the 23, you'll see. But again, you kind of even zoom out to like right here. It's almost hard. It's almost like you can't even see them. So you really got to get in there close and zoomed in nice. All right, so let's zoom into this last one, and then we'll call it a day on this. I think I've made my point, but again, just use your diligence, and you'll get some nice grades, get some good stuff. All right, so let's see. So we're looking in here with nice clean corners. Nice clean corner there. We'll shine the light on it. Clean corner. This was the thing that really was a sticking point with me, and you might think I'm a crazy stickler. Can you see it right there? Look how tiny that is. That's the only issue with this card. Am I crazy for not sending it? I don't think I am, because I'm trying my best to be somewhat of a perfectionist on this older stuff, because I don't know. I want to kind of get to the point where I know what to look for naturally. I'm getting all good grades. But, you know, with a modern card, that could potentially be something that I would send, but I don't even know. So again, I'm trying to be as thorough as possible. But yeah, so, you know, hopefully we learned some lessons there. A lot of good examples of issues that you can find. And then if you look at it, if this is, say, my stack here, I'm grading one of them. So I'm trying to be diligent. Submit in small batches. Start to learn your lesson. Learn the things that maybe get slightly overlooked versus the things that you know are going to be detrimental to your grading. But yeah, so good luck with everybody. And again, you've got your centering tool, which can be super helpful. Super cheap. These are a couple bucks on Amazon. Definitely give one of those a try if you think you need it. But again, you can pretty much eyeball a card if it looks like it's centered all the way around and you feel comfortable with it. Get to a point where you're kind of recognizing that pretty easily. Then you should be good to go. But yeah, thanks again for joining me. Again, I was hoping to make this video a while back, but hopefully you found this insightful, useful. But if you're grading older stuff, just be mindful. There's some potential issues that aren't quite noticeable until you really get in there and look at them. So thanks again. Drop a like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you guys on the next one for some more PSA reveals, pre-subs, all kinds of stuff. See ya.